Hi, and welcome to another LiquidFiles video. In this video, we are going to migrate one of our production systems. So we have a system called files.liquidfiles.com, and this is mainly used when from your LiquidFile system, when you select to send support information, it will bundle some log data and send that through to this LiquidFile system called files.liquidfiles.com, and it's using a file drop. So we're using the same functionality that you can use yourself with your LiquidFile system. So the first thing that we are going to do is that we are going to go to our DNS server. And in this case, we have this files, liquidfiles.com DNS record. It has this current IP address, which is fine. We're not going to change that yet. But the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to lower this TTL to the lowest number that we can. Ideally, we would like to set this to 1 minute or so, but we can't. So worst case scenario is that people after this change will have cached this for, well, the setting before was 15 minutes. So if you have set this for several hours, maybe you want to change this on like the day before, so that you do this change and set it to the lowest value that you can. So we're going to set this to 5 minutes before we do our migration. And the next thing that we're going to do is that we are going to allocate an elastic IP address. This is not strictly something that you have to do. So this will permanently lock an IP address. But for a production system like this, we want to have a fixed IP address. So the new IP address for this, and we can already call this files liquidfiles.com. This is going to be the new IP address for this system moving forward. So after that, we're going to launch an instance, and we're going to search for LiquidFiles. And we can see in the community APIs, community AMIs, that there's two. There's the older one, and then it's a newer one that's just been released. So we're going to use the new one. This one will be removed pretty soon. We select to start this. We are going to run this as a T3A small. So we have 2 gigs of memory, which is fine for a sort of low usage system, but still enable antivirus scanning. We can run this on a test system with 1 gig of memory, but we won't be able to enable virus scanning on 1 gig memory. If you have lots of users, then 4 or 8 gigs memory is more suited. But for this, a small system is perfectly fine. We've already stored, we have an RSA key that we can use to log on to this system. We have a predefined LiquidFiles security group, and there will be a screenshot to show how you can configure this. 20 gigabytes is fine for this, and we can't remember if we can set the IP address directly here. We cannot, so we won't do that now. We will assign that later. So this has now successfully launched. So now it's initiating this, and we can give this a name, files liquidfiles.com. It's going to be the new one, and it currently has this IP address of 54.175.36.53, or it will when it's currently initializing, but when it's starting to boot, that's what it will have when it comes up. So let's just copy this. Now I'm going to do something that may not seem obvious at first, but I'm going to open a new incognito window, and I'm going to run this in an incognito window, and the reason I'm going to do this is that in a normal Chrome session or any browser session, really, we have all sorts of protections these days with HSTS that remember certificates and things like that, and when we're in incognito mode, this incognito session is now locked to itself. So it won't have the same, it won't remember the same HTS settings and so on, HSTS settings. So it's I find it a good use when we're sort of fiddling with IP addresses on systems until they're actually in production state. So it will take a few minutes for this to start. We can go back and forth to check. In the meantime, still initializing, so yeah, a lot of people starting systems at the moment. In the meantime, I've logged on now in the background here to these files, liquidfiles.com system, the existing system. And we are going to run the ft-migrate command on this system. So the ft-migrate command will enable us to copy the data, all the data from this system to this new system. So we're going to say number 2 here, we're going to migrate from this system. And this is a production migration. So we don't want any users to send any more files after this, because that will then, the migration happens at the point in time. And if this thing changes afterwards, then this we can see in the background now that this system has started to come alive. But we can continue here and say continue and disable. We want to disable the current running system, and so nothing happens with this system after this migration is done. So in the background here, the system has prepared itself for the migration, and we have now this password that we're going to use for the migration. So during the startup, the certificate has changed, and we need to say that we want to proceed to this system, and it's considered unsafe, which is fair enough because certificate has changed for the same IP address. Not something we want on a production system, so the warning is completely fair. So we're getting this getting started screen on this LiquidFile system. So the top half is if you are configuring a new LiquidFile system. So you've just downloaded the trial and you want to set this up, or you're configuring a second or third LiquidFile system in your environment. This is the section you want to follow. In this case, we want to migrate from another LiquidFile system. So instead, we're clicking here, and we can say that we want to migrate from files, liquidfiles.com, and we're going to paste this password here. We're going to migrate certificates, so this is a complete migration, and we're going to start. So at this point, the system, this LiquidFile system here, has connected using rsync to this system here in the background, and see. I mean, it's not a lot of use on this system, but it's important. It's important usage. We had the opportunity to abort the migration, but obviously we don't want this on a production migration. So now a bunch of files getting copied. So not a lot of data, and between two Amazon data centers, or in the same Amazon data center even, this is going to go pretty quickly. But it'll be close to line speed if you need to calculate. So if you have 1 gigabyte of data, or say 10 gigabytes of data, and if you have 10 megabits per second, you can use those of bandwidth. You can use those to calculate how long this is roughly going to take. So there's been some database changes between version 3 and version 4 of LiquidFiles. So those have been applied. And now we have restored the database and everything is coming up. And we can, we've noticed that when we're replacing the certificates, then this thing so we can see now this clock has stopped because the certificate has actually changed. So I'm going to reload this. We're going to get another browser warning, and we can continue. And when we go, we can see that migration has actually completed. And when we click continue here, this is going to clean up ending migration. Click on that. This has now cleaned up, and this LiquidFile system has now been migrated. So we're going to finalize this now with, here we are going to see if we can find this. Instance settings. Actually, maybe I'll do that from this setting instead. Allocate elastic IP address, and we want to do this on files liquidfiles.com. Next step is that we're going to copy this, and in our DNS setting we are going to change this. And within 5 minutes we should. One thing that we are going to do for this is that we are going to update the reverse DNS. So this is something now when this IP address has been, and again, this might not work because it hasn't waited for 5 minutes. But it did. So now it's validating that we have configured files on liquidfiles.com to point to this IP address, which we have. And now when this computer has refreshed its DNS cache, then so what do we in the end ended up having to do was actually to restart Chrome. So Chrome has an internal DNS cache, and it was just getting in the way. So now if we connect to files.liquidfiles.com, we can see that the system is up and running, and it has been successfully migrated to LiquidFiles version 4. Hope you enjoyed this video, and we will see you soon back for more LiquidFiles videos. Thank you. Bye.